Hello, everyone. A very good evening to all of you. My name is Fanoli Shah, and I will be your presenter for the evening. I welcome you all today and would like to thank each and every one of you for attending this webinar. Today in this webinar, as I can see here, we have a blend of our existing as well as our new customers. And I believe that this webinar is going to be very productive and insightful for all of us. For your reference, we will be taking questions and opening the Q&A session in the middle as well as at the end of the webinar. For your future reference also, we will be sharing the recording of this webinar over the registered email addresses with all the relevant details. This will make it easier for you to get in touch with us. All right, so now moving forward, as you all might know, SoftwareSuggest is a leading recommendation and branding platform. If you are looking for novel ways to scale up your business and take it to next level, SoftwareSuggest offers exclusive range of options from different industry functions. But at the same time, we all know that businesses need to evolve from time to match up with the changing market scenarios. Keeping this in mind, today we have Mr. Sandeep Sinha, the VP of Sales, with us to talk about how SoftwareSuggest has come up with the certain new verticals that will not only maximize your profits, but also help you in increasing your ROI. So I would like to welcome Mr. Sandeep Sinha here with me. Hi, Sandeep.
Hi, Fanoli. Thank you so much for the introduction. Good evening, all. My name is Sandeep. I have the revenue verticals at SoftwareSuggest, and let's talk about how we can add value for both sides of the table.
Sure, Sandeep. But before we begin with all of these, Sandeep, we have been talking a lot about how we have the solution to maximize our profits and how can we increase our ROI and how can we level up our game. The base question here for all of us, I may say if I'm speaking for all of them, remains is why are software and service recommendation platforms important? If you would share certain insights from your side.
Well, actually, that's a great question, Fanoli, to start off with. What I would talk about is not just about SoftwareSuggest, any recommendation platform out there. What it does is it enhances the value of the current in-house strengths and then acts up as an additional marketing engine, right? So it fuels up your top funnel. These platforms act as an aggregator, right, to help consumers begin the vendor selection and the evaluation process at a snitch, right? So it saves a lot of time when a buyer is trying to identify what software suits them. And it also helps them find the relevant software, try to make informed decisions, as opposed to relying only on the vendor supplied resources. And it capitalizes on the industry experts as an organization, right? So being in the SaaS industry for some time, they know what they're supposed to reach out to, which in turn we can talk about. It's a niche bio persona segmented to the actual category of the product.
True. So now with all the competition that we have, now that we have the relevance of software and service recommendation platforms, would you shed some light on why SoftwareSuggest in particular?
Absolutely. See, when you're talking about why SoftwareSuggest in particular, what it does specifically is it makes or it enables companies to discover profitable business software and the service partners, right? So we do all the work on the background. We research the accounts, we understand your category, we understand the market segmentation that you're catering to. And then we list, review, compare, and provide consultation of the leading business softwares and services which fits the buyer, right? So it backs both ways. One, we are addressing the need of the buyer and also exposing the seller to the buyer all in one place. And that's exclusive what SoftwareSuggest does.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
As you mentioned, like SoftwareSuggest, like we have a lot of other platforms also, and the vendors themselves are facing a lot of competition and challenges. So as per your insight, what are some major challenges that the industry is facing in the current market?
I'll show you 5 samples probably, if that could aggregate to what all we talk about, right? So when we're talking about outreach, visibility, branding, a recommendation, or a referral, these are the 5 industry challenges that I can count on my fingertips if I have to aggregate all of them put together, right? So first things first, you need to understand your ICP. Only then you'd be able to target your audience. Only then you'd be able to project your solution as a narrative to them. How much visibility do you have in the market versus how much help any other platform can do to enhance your current capability? How much branding are you trying to do? And where are you doing that, right? How many recommendations do you have from one from your existing users, two from the other market players? And how many people can do a referral for you? So all these put together, I would put that as filling up your top sales funnel. Few topics that I would really be talking about or wanting to talk about is just see an example of a webinar, why we do webinars for our clientele, why we do webinars for ourselves, right? So it, the sequence of situations, right? So when you're trying to hard sell and promote products that are outdated, how do you take that to your market? Unless and until you give a demo to your potential audience, you'd not be able to show what you're actually trying to solve, right? So it increases your brand awareness. It showcases your actual solution to the audience instead of giving them a statement of what you're trying to solve. It speeds up your sales processes, increases your ROI. You can, in fact, talk to various industry experts. In fact, what we have started recently is a collaborative webinar, right? So two companies come together, present their solution as a mechanism or a package for everybody so that any party can take an advantage out of it, whoever is interested in what they're trying to do. And on top of this, how do you position yourself in the market is also dictated by how we talk about your placement, which I would be talking about probably in the next set on how the leader matrix is positioned, right? So what we talk about the leader matrix or what it is. Basically, we are giving you a graphical representation of your current stand in the market or which quadrant do you fall under. So we generally categorize that into contenders, emergents, players, challengers, right? So in other words, what we're trying to put you is as a place which you think you belong, in turn gives you a representation of how the market is also reacting. A buyer, assuming, comes onto the leader matrix, understands which market is open, who are the product services who's offering in that particular segment, who is a market leader, who is a contender, who plays on the niche market, right? So if I have to put it in a better way, it's a leading branding activity the SoftwareSuggest does for you. You understand the product position in the quadrants by a graphical representation. So you can visualize, you can relate. It assists the user in the buying process. It gives a trust to your user. When a recommendation platform says there is a product that we recommend or we think is a market leader, right? So that's how we talk about what a leader matrix is. Now, this is something that I wanted to talk about. The major problems that we've discussed. What if I have a question in terms of we can make a perfect blend of branding and lead generation together? Any activity that we're going to talk about, be it marketing, be it branding, be it lead gen, every activity can be complementing to the next one, thereby increasing your top funnel again effectively. Finding and reaching the right audience at the right time also make you discoverable everywhere, almost everywhere. Let me stand corrected on that. And how about we talk about influencing the buying decisions also? The reason I talk about this is if you look at the visibility, branding, and leads that are displayed on the screen right now. So this is exactly what we do. The profile that you have in Surface Suggest is fully functional. It's personalized to your attempt. And what we definitely do, in fact, answering Fanoli's question, why Surface Suggest? We give an in-depth review of your product on the platform, starting with what the product is described as, your Q&As, your reviews, your user base, right? Everything is controlled by you on SoftwareSuggest. Add free profile page, premium listings above the other listings that are already existing. The leader metrics, what we spoke about, the buyer comparison guide, right? So this is giving you 100% visibility on SoftwareSuggest whenever somebody is trying to make a purchasing decision. When we talk about branding, it's a lot of noise that we do on the social media, a lot of activities that go around on the guests post, the articles. In fact, we go to an extent where we take an interview of the founder, publish it on SoftwareSuggest, and make it visible to the relevant audience so that people connect with the product and the founder also, or he who created it. The collaborative webinar, what we have discussed earlier when we were talking about it, two, three, four products come together, talk about the industry problems, give a solution of what they think could be addressed as a permissible outcome. Then you have your product review. In fact, we take a demo of the product, understand what it is, the pros, the cons, the features, and we give a verdict on what we think, why this product is going to be a game changer in the market. Out of that, we talk about your customer testimonials and video interviews. All of this put together, end result would be leads, right? So we're talking about the marketing qualified leads, the access to the reseller data, access to the old database, what SoftwareSuggest holds. Any new company that comes in, the newly registered company database. So this is the lead generation engine, which talks about branding and visibility, and that's how we enhance the lead inflow by at least I would say 20%. That does
That's
that answer your question?
It does. Like in today's world, when I say with so much competition, leads is not only one thing that people should be running behind. Like everything put together, the visibility and the branding, when you put it all together, eventually leads to getting leads. And I believe that when all put in together, the conversion ratio would be going a little bit higher, if I'm not wrong.
Absolutely. With the history of what we have at SoftwareSuggest, we have noticed a conversion rate somewhere between 5 to 15% on an average,
Okay.
and a bump of at least 8% versus the efforts that were taken in-house before. Right? So the clear-cut comparison in between what was expected, what is expected, and what we can deliver, it has set a benchmark for the existing users.
What I can see is in here, SoftwareSuggest is actually giving all its advantage, whatever it has, it is offering in, put it into one package and giving it to the vendors, I believe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a 360 degree, I would say, in fact, because like you rightly said, leads is not just one thing that we would always want to talk about. How well are you projecting your product in the market? What's your positioning? What's your visibility, right? So all of this put together, we are funneling them down, boiling that to leads, and then handing it over. So that's where the aggregator platforms like SoftwareSuggest, especially SoftwareSuggest, works around with.
Perfect. So before we go ahead, Sandeep, let's just open the Q&A section for a couple of minutes, see if people have questions coming in and we can answer them and then move ahead.
Absolutely.
So everyone, the floor is open for the Q&A. You will see a Q&A section at the top. You could just put it there and type in your questions. Sandeep would be happy to answer all of them. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes for them to type in their questions.
Absolutely.
So we have a question from Neha Kashyap. What exactly would you do when you say lead generation? Give us the database or run campaigns?
When we're talking about lead generation, I'm so sorry, the question was from
Neha.
Neha, what we try to do when we talk about the lead generation, the first thing is we do not give the database because that would not make any sense to you, right? So our traffic is 100% organic. And whatever that we see on SoftwareSuggest, we qualify the leads, we understand the requirement, and only then once we think it makes sense to you, that's when the lead is passed on to you. Would that answer your question?
Yeah, I hope that answers your question. She has another question and she is asking, how is the lead qualified?
Let's take an example of the category, right? So, an example, let's take a CRM, right? Somebody is a buyer, a potential buyer, is trying to purchase or understand what the CRM marketer is going ahead with, or he is looking to buy a CRM for himself. Now he comes in SoftwareSuggest, he raises an inquiry, he puts up a question. We consult for him, right? So we understand what requirement he has. How is he wanting to implement? What kind of a user base does he want to put on the CRM? Once we take that, once we understand this is something that you actually would want to, and then it goes on with the or matches with your actual ICP, that's when it's shared with you. In other words, we have when we talk about the marketing qualified leads, right? So what happens is multiple questions or multiple buyers come onto the website, make inquiries on the CRM portal. Again, consult with us, and that's what is shared with you. I can put it as intent data for you to qualify.
Perfect. We have another question from Apurva. She's asking, can you help how old the SS leads are from the old database? How old are those?
Well, Apuva, we understand the leads get decayed very fast, and the buying cycle a, on a segmentation of the B2B market or a product purchase, it goes at least 45 days to 2 months, right? So what we do is we track back to 6 months to 1 year, and we don't go beyond that or before that. So any lead that you have received over the last 6 months or before 6 months to a year back, that's what is shared as an old lead.
Okay. I think, Sandeep, we have one more question. Will the lead be shared to competitors as well?
On a very limited scale. I'm not sure who the question came in from, but yes, the leads would be shared with competition at a level where we restrict the number of people that we share the lead with.
And can we also have an individual webinar in the campaign?
Absolutely, yes. You have a webinar, you run the webinar, you become a presenter. We run the campaign for you. We gather the audience along with you for the webinar.
And Neha is asking, what is the cost for lead generation?
Neha, I'll have my team get in touch with you. If you could leave your email address or you can drop an email. I'll have my team get in touch with you, and then you can discuss on the pricing.
We'll just wait for a minute. Otherwise, then we go ahead.
Sure.
I think let's just move ahead, Sandeep. Anybody has any questions, you can keep typing in the Q&A session. And once we are done with it, we will take all of your questions. Sorry, I was on mute. One question that I have, we have gotten a lot from the vendors is, how do you manage to get the leads for our vendors? Like with so many competition, so many people in the same industry, how do you get the leads for our vendors?
Again, when we talk about how do we address the need of the vendor or how do we get the leads for the vendor, it's an enhanced sales process, right? So we don't restrict ourselves to one. We can talk about an omni-channel marketing, what we do. And what we do is organic, right? So it's an integrated solution to enhance your sales and lead generation. Right? And we say that we optimize your sales process. How we do that? It's training and development for the in-house. We have a sales support, a lead generation, and a nurturing setup. So these are the three major engines that function to funnel your lead growth. Now, what we do is we understand the ICP of a particular customer, particular vendor, particular product creator. We take that into the market. Once with the ICP we have, we qualify the leads for them. right? It's exclusive. For example, there is a company who wants to have a company with a turnover of, say, 10 million and above. They want to address a specific market, say US or Canada. We understand that ICP, we train the SDRs to work on it. And only then, once we are able to establish an appointment, that appointment is shared with you to the vendor. So that's how we maintain the quality. That's how we maintain the inflow. And that's how we optimize the sales process. It's multiple engines working together. Like I said, the team that we have that's working out. We start with the digital marketing, we start with the email marketing. Then we have the research associate to understand if this is the exact ICP and we are going on the right track. We have the data mining expert who would extract the contacts for us. We have the SDR who actually talks, qualifies, and then sets an appointment for you. And then you have your own dedicated customer success manager. So these are the bits and pieces of the system who would be helping you out to get things sorted on your plate. Now, if you look at the lead management system, right? So we talk about a landing page, we talk about the cold emails, the cold calls, the keyword focused content, the webinars, and the digital marketing and the product marketing that we talk about. So all these promotions put together, what we are trying to establish is get you the lead that you have asked for. Again, it's an appointment that you and your potential come on board, exclusive of you, of course. That to answer Sneha's question, this lead would not be shared with anybody else. So this is one thing that would be for you.
Right. This sounds very interesting. I mean, the entire process that you have set up is amazing, and the fact that it's a demo qualified lead, and you would have an exclusive lead really interests. But let's see if anybody has any questions on this one. For the previous one, we had a question for the guest post that you mentioned in the previous plan. Do we get the backlink for the same in guest post?
When you're talking about the backlink for a guest post, right? So what we generally do is we take your profile on SoftwareSuggest and link it to the posts that we get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if that answers the question.
And you already answered this, but leads are exclusive to us in this outbound campaign if we take this. So
that is right, yes. Now, again, I'll probably go a little deep on the process, how this works out, specifically to the lead manager, right? So as we consider the example of an ICP of how many users or what's the turnover that we have, we take that, we start digging into the market with our database, with our outreach, cold emails, the cold calls that goes. We take a 12 channel approach to identify the prospect, or rather I would put it as a suspect, ensure that he matches to our criteria, filter it down, talk to him, set up an appointment, and we will consider, or you would be considering that as a lead only when this person attends the demo along with us. It's more of a hand holding and a handshake that happens before we consider that as a lead.
Got it. So you mentioned, Sandeep, that an SDR, which is a sales development representative, is going to be appointed. So for example, if I'm from a certain industry, is this person going to be trained for the same? Because he may or may not know what products I am selling. So would he go through a training period?
He will go through a training period. When I say training, it might not be that this person is industry agnostic, right? So the in-house SDR setup, what we have been functional for almost 15, 16 years of experience in their own respective subjects, right? So when I say appoint an SDR, it's a dedicated SDR that is working on your particular account.
Got it. We have another question. How much time does it take to start the campaign, and what if the customer doesn't show in the demo?
We generally talk about the time, say, I would say somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks is an optimal time, because you're not training this person on understanding how the market is responding. You're talking about your particular product and this SDR taking your product into the market to have him come onto the demo. And if that customer is not showing up in the demo, that's not a demo qualified lead at all, right? So you will have the person on the demo. If not, it's upon me to get that person onto the demo.
So basically, SoftwareSuggest is taking all the responsibility to get the
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Perfect. We do have a lot more questions, so we'll just go through that. Is there any commitment for the ROI?
I give you historic numbers instead of a commitment. The reason that I'm saying that is because when you're talking about one channel approach versus an omni-channel and a multi-channel approach, what we have noticed with our current users is we are looking at least any time between 2x to 3x in terms of their lead flow. Now, ROI is a variable of multiple factors, as you already know. It could depend on what region that I'm getting this lead from, what kind of a buying capacity this person has, what kind of product pricing you have, right? So the ROI commitment is something that we do not want to talk about, but yes, like I said, the historic data talks about 2x to 3x.
Got it. And this is a very interesting question. What are the channels where data mining is being done? Like, we wanted to disclose everything that you're doing. So tell us.
Absolutely. It's multiple. I can start with, say, a LinkedIn, right? For the starters, we can talk about how do you understand your market segmentation, market research reports, you have your funding reports, hiring signals, all put together. Only when we think this is going up, that's when we talk about. If you have to ask about the tools that we use, yeah, we can talk about Owler, we can talk about Toffler. We have a lot of it.
Got it. And I believe SS database is one thing that's the cream that you have. Like, would you also tap into those
I did not purposefully mention that because when we're talking about SS database, we've been around for almost 8 years there in the market, right? So any inquiry that has been coming in through SoftwareSuggest or to SoftwareSuggest has been out there always. We qualify them, we rerun them, and then it'll be shared with somebody who is exclusive looking for a lead for them.
Got it. One more question that we have, just to confirm, whatever criteria we have, leads will be qualified in this plan according to that?
That is right.
Okay.
Just to repeat the question, could you, whatever criteria we have, leads will be qualified in this plan according to that. If you're talking about the marketing qualified leads, these are 100% inbound inquiries, right? So if you are listed in a particular category and a user comes on to the category, understands what he's looking for, he fills up a form, that is shared with you real time. So yes, and if I have to give you an understanding of how the person comes on, it's a broad match through Google, right? So somebody's searching for a best software, a particular best software in a particular market. SoftwareSuggest comes up. He comes onto the category page and goes through the listings, requests our consultation, or fills a form, which is directly shared with that particular vendor, right? So it's a three-level filtered intent driven completely by the user who's trying to fill the form.
We have another question from Darwin. He is asking, will this service, I'm assuming the lead generation service, work for companies that offer services in the entertainment industry?
When you're talking about entertainment industry, it's multiple, right? So if there is a person who is requesting or trying to buy a software, it doesn't matter which industry he is from. If he is a person who has created a product for the entertainment industry, when you look on SoftwareSuggest at the top, right, you'll have multiple categories that are listed. If you'd be able to give me the right fitment for your category, yes, we can try it out. Now, we have been working on the SEO front. We have been working on the organic front very aggressively. It's been around about 4 or 5 years that we have been promoting all the categories that we have on SoftwareSuggest. But if there is an exclusivity and a specific requirement that you will have, please shoot out an email. We can take it up.
Got it. We have one more question, and it is, how do SDR introduce them over the call at the time of qualification? As then, are they from SoftwareSuggest or are they from the brand, like from the company that has tied up with us?
This exactly is the training that we would take as a buffer for the 2 to 4 weeks. It swings both ways, right? So if you'd want us to talk about representative or being a representative of your company, of your brand, we can do that. If you'd want us to represent Office Suggest and recommend somebody else, that is an option that can be considered.
We have another question, minimum duration of the plan.
I would somewhere give an estimate of at least 3 to 6 months so that you can understand what returns you're getting on the investment. Like I was talking about the purchasing cycle,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it takes anywhere between 45 to 60 days. That itself is a 2 month timeline. The amount of leads that you get in the first month, the second month, or the third month will start maturing or nurturing in the third, fourth, and the fifth month. So give it some time so that you yourself will understand and you can come back with what you think as an answer.
As they say, all good things take time, I believe.
Absolutely, yeah.
We have one more question. How many leads we can expect in a month?
When you're talking about, that's purely driven by the category, yeah, right? So if you're talking about the flagship categories that we have been sufficing at least 45, 50 live leads on an average per user, right? It goes on to niche categories. We go somewhere between 5 to 10 per user, right? So it totally varies on the category that you pick, the search volumes it has. Again, pointing it back, we are talking about the traffic being organic. We don't push the products on somebody else. Instead, people come for research and then we supplement with the answers.
Got it. How successful this campaign, I'm assuming the lead generation campaign, the last one, has been till now? Like how successful you have been in doing the lead generation campaign?
I would say pretty much and very much because I have been running on these, both the campaigns, in fact, for quite some time now, exclusively about the outbound. I'm serving or catering to customers for the last, I would say, 1.5 years,
Mhm.
and nobody has backed out. So, which means what they have requested for or for what requirement they had is being fulfilled.
Delivered.
I would not, I would not brag about it much, but that's what has been happening for some time now.
I mean, we can say that it has been a successful campaign.
I would say yes.
Someone is asking how many SDRs are involved in this campaign?
One per account, one customer success manager dedicated to your account. So you have one SDR.
Okay.
Again, it depends on the size of the project. So what we generally talk about is when you're giving you a demo qualified lead. The maximum requirements that I generally look at is somewhere between 5 to 10 leads a month or 5 to 10 demos in a month. And there becomes a situation where people do not want to take more than that as a lead. Right? So that's how it has been restricted. For 10 demos, if you're looking at, one SDR would suffice. Going above that, again, depending on how many leads you want.
I'm just adding on to this question for my knowledge. Is this SDR particularly going to work for one company or will be working for multiple companies at the same time?
When I say it's a dedicated account manager, he would be your dedicated account manager.
Someone is asking, is this a post-paid campaign?
I'm sorry. Is this
Post-paid campaign? Do we pay up? Do they pay upfront?
see whatever lead that you think is a demo qualified lead, we bill you at the end of the month. Right. So when we both are on the same page, understanding these are the leads that you have received, these are the demos that we were able to qualify for you, and that's how we bill it.
Got it. I think that was a good Q&A question. If anybody has any more questions, please. I think that's it, Sandeep. Anything from your side that you would want to add at the end before we close this?
Well, I think, like you said, the Q&A has been very interactive. Thank you all for being active, understanding what we do. I'm getting more curious to understand what we do better.
Yeah.
And thank you for being a lovely audience. If you have any questions, you can reach out at the email that Finelu was talking about. And I think that's pretty much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sandeep, for coming and talking about this. For all of your references, as I mentioned earlier, an email will be sent out to you with the recording of the entire session. In case you have any questions or queries, you can always come back to us. And, thank you for being a lovely audience.